All right, happy holidays, guys. Welcome to another interesting episode of Trace and Tell with Ade and Joe. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ade, and we're happy to have you here for this very interesting episode. It's interesting and at the same time special. Why is it special? One, there are two reasons. Number one, this is like our last episode for 2025, even though we started off this year, but it's interesting to sort of like see how far we've gone, or maybe like not how far we've gone, but whatever. Yeah, you have to look at the cup half full rather than half empty. So uh, happy to have you guys here, and thank you for all of you guys that have been listening and sending us messages. It's encouraging to see the list. So thank you guys for doing that. And yeah, I have my co-host here, also Joe, my partner in crime. How have you been?
Yeah, I've been good. It is the holiday season, so season greetings to all the listeners out there, and do my best to keep the cookie weight off and all the sweets and stay in shape. Rick here, who I'll give you. Well, Rick has tested me to do 50 push-ups to fight fraud the other day, so maybe maybe he can explain a little bit more about that. But yeah, trying to stay in shape during the holiday season as I typically try to do. And yeah, been good. It's been a great year to reflect on and be happy to discuss more. And yeah, happy to be here.
Nice.
Yep.
Nice. And so the second reason, yeah, I think definitely if you have gotten the hint from Joe, yeah, we have a special guest in the house, a crypto OG, I'll call him that. And he has a very unique title of CTO. For a lot of people, they would assume CTO means Chief Technology Officer, but this is like an interesting one, Crypto Technology Officer. And I'm referring to no other person other than imaginary drum roll, Rick Harmsen, who leads the investigations team at Data Experts. Hi, Rick. Thank you for joining us on this episode. We are glad to have you here. What's up?
Happy to be here. Like really close to the holidays, right? We're just a few days out. Like I think it's the first time I've
Yeah.
ever recorded something like this close to the holidays.
Wow. we don't
Yeah,
we don't
same
like
here.
what that much, but yeah, we'll figure it out. Cool. Yeah, thank you for joining on this episode, Rick. And I think we've sort of like been in contact for, I would say I got to know about you earlier this year, and that was when I think you made an interesting video on just bearing it out and saying, you know what, I'm going to try this content creation thing on investigations and intelligence and all of those stuffs. And I was like, okay, wow, this is interesting. This is always like literally putting it out there, the clause of, you know what, this is not my day-to-day job, but I'll try as much as possible to share what I can. And I'm very sure people would have come across um your content or your post on LinkedIn would definitely mention that it has been really, 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 really good. Like I for one have gained a lot, right? So that is a good one. But yeah, I'm not going to introduce you because I think I'm going to do a very messy job. But yeah, please, yeah, let us know who you are. I kind of feel like a couple of our listeners knows you already, but yeah, please, by all means, let us know who you are.
Yeah, you did a great job. Like with the LinkedIn, it was spot on. It was just like seeing like let's just do it right. Been a bit inspired
Yeah.
by Stephen on that front.
Yep.
And
Mm,
I was just like at the moment when I became crypto technical officer in the data expert crypto division, I was like,
yeah.
I got some time to do that. So why not? And let's see if we can like bring more of the investigations communities together. So for those tuning in, my name is Rick Harmsen. I'm the chief. I'm the crypto technology officer at Data Expert for Crypto Division. So and you already phrased it where like normally it's like chief technology officer. It's really stated as crypto technology officer because I'm just focused upon crypto. That's it, right?
Mm,
It's crypto, it's
yeah.
blockchain, it's my passion, and it's everything that I'm doing for Data Expert in that sense. So for those who are a little bit less familiar with Data Expert and more familiar with like what I'm doing on LinkedIn all the time, Data Expert is a company focusing upon cybersecurity on all kinds of fronts. So you can think about like analytics, forensics, crypto, of course, with our unit.
Mm.
And we are really focusing upon being able to supply knowledge and products like all at once. So not just like being there to say like, oh, this is something that's really needed, like a chain or a TRM or whatsoever. No, but also like provide you with the knowledge that you need.
Yeah.
Which is one of the reasons why I'm like really out there at the moment and like trying to spread it amongst like a wider audience to show
Mm-hmm.
like how simple and effective it can be to gain knowledge if you just like incorporate it in your day-to-day activities also.
Yeah.
And that you can enhance that with different kind of products, of course, but like that the core of everything should be like gaining the true knowledge and then extend that with everything that is out there. Um, so yeah, I've been maybe a little bit of a background about myself. I've been into
Yeah.
crypto since like 2014, 2015.
The
Um,
OGs.
which yeah, yeah, that's how it's called. But it could be earlier. Like I wish I would have like stepped in earlier. Um, like that would have been really interesting getting that like hands-on kind of experience like way back
True.
when it really started. Um, but my first like step into the industry was while I was still working at the police in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Um, of course, there were some cases popping by. It
Mm-hmm.
gained a little bit of interest, of course, on the private side of things, like just testing out how everything works. And that just like prolonged into diving way deeper into crypto than I would have ever been able to imagine back then. Like it stopped
Yeah.
by earlier. I was like, I think like 2013 or so. I was like, is it really that interesting? And 2014, 2015, I was like, yeah, but like the technical side of things is like really interesting. It's really like getting to
True.
me. Um, and the more it grew, the more cases popped up also at the cybercrime units that I was co-leading back then.
Mm.
Eventually, Data Expert came on the line in 2020, which is probably about like 5.5 years ago.
5 years
Or,
now.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, 5 years now, like somewhere between 2019 2020, and that's where like where it was like a bit of mingling, right? You had like crypto, you had cybercrime investigations, you had all the hacks and stuff like that at the police force, and at Data Expert, I just decided to dive deep into the crypto industry, gain way more hands-on with chain analysis, with TRM and all the other products out there, of course, which is a privilege that I got that position to really dive
Mm.
into those toolings, and like get knowledge from like the technical aspect, which is like your own interest, and then like combined
Yeah.
with all the tracing side of things. Just lovely. Having a blast doing it, having a blast sharing knowledge out there, having a blast with you guys on here at this moment. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think Joe and you, I think we've met up and about in the same time, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Probably
up and
like,
about like
yeah.
9 months to a year ago, and just having a blast
Yeah.
since then. So I'm happy to be on here also.
Nice. Nice. Cool. I think so it seemed sort of like there are quite a number of people who, in a way, sort of like crossover from public, should I call it public service, or from public domain to sort of like working in crypto on like the private side of things now, if you call it that way. Like I've seen sort of like that bridge over time. Like what do you think is like generally the cause of that? Like if you can share in your own experience.
Like connecting it with like why I changed over to Data Expert also. So um so for me it was a really easy decision. Um,
Mm,
eventually, it shapes you, right. Like if you're like 18 and you join the police, and like it shapes like who you are also for a
yeah.
large aspect at least. Um, and eventually, I arrived at a point where I was like, I just want to like focus really heavily on certain topics, and I knew that
Mm,
Data Expert would be like able to deliver me those options.
yeah.
And that's also like why I am at like a certain point in my life where I'm right now,
Yeah.
being able to do these kind of things, which is truly a passion of mine, like being able to teach, but also being able to investigate and
Mm-hmm.
combine all those things together. So that was my own experience, like being able to
Yeah.
switch it up and have some true focus, and also being able to help law enforcement and all the other entities that we are helping in general as a data
Yeah.
expert. Um, I think from this position, I get a way more wider reach than I would ever had like staying at law enforcement back then. I was already like doing some teaching and some knowledge sharing, but
Yeah.
like it's just like a little part, like a little sliver of the job, right? Um, and yes, I do agree that you see a lot of people stepping over from
Mm-hmm.
law enforcement to like, I don't know, to a Binance or to whatever like
Yeah.
tracing division. And then you see people moving to like product vendors like Chainalysis or TRM, right? And I think because they want that focus. Um, I think crypto in general is important
Mm-hmm.
within, for example, a law enforcement unit, but unless you are really lucky, it will probably not be like your core focus all the
Cool.
time because there are so many cases happening.
True.
Um, and 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 then if you really want to get experienced and you want to dive into the big cases and you want to help like a tremendous amount of victims in crypto,
Mm-hmm.
I think
Yeah.
then one of the options that is out there is like making that switch. I think that's the biggest reason for a lot of them. Um, like probably a lot of other reasons also,
Yeah.
but I do think that that's like one of the main reasons
Major
being
one.
able to get that focus, and you see it a lot online.
Yeah.
You guys also like on LinkedIn when you know when we're in the comments and chatting with each other and people are replying, people are doing their own posts. It's like they
Yeah.
want to be hands on, they want to learn, but there's so much you can do in your free time, in your spare time, right? You
True.
can't sit there every evening till like 1 o'clock. Well, you can, but like you probably like fall down after a few months. So
Yeah.
I agree. Cool. Makes sense. Yeah, Joe.
No, I was just wondering, Rick, like, you mentioned that you were already in like the cybercrime unit when you were in the
yeah.
police. Is that correct? Or like, I'm just wondering what this connection into like a technical side, like where that comes from for you, and also maybe even to also like teaching and educating. It seems like an interesting dynamic between those two parts, and you don't hear that always from police coming into like a technical field like this. So just curious where that comes from with you.
Yeah, that's I think you're correct. It's not like a common denominator, like teaching technical side of things, and uh, I think you gotta like being out there in front of groups, of course, also like or just
Hmm.
like an audience like that we are doing right now. You gotta have that own incentive of want to spread the knowledge and like also putting yourself out there. But like looking way back, like if we go to my younger years, the technical side of things comes from my grandpa. So he was like full into technical and like I don't know soldering or motherboards and stuff like that. So that's
Oh
just
well.
really fun. He was bringing stuff home, and he was trying to teach me things. He was the first one to give me like a DOS book, like that manual with everything that you need to do to wipe and all those things. Like just fool around with it. Gave him the computers and like just testing things out. So I think that shaped a lot for me because um, luckily I found it interesting. So I kept continuing with it. So that just prolonged within everything I was doing. Of course, I love gaming because of that. I love being in there.
Hmm.
I also love like trying out different kind of things, like seeing how far we can basically stretch the limits, which was way easier back then. Like if you look at it
Mm.
right now, it's just way wider. But like
Yeah.
back then, it was quite isolated. You could say you knew what to test, you knew what to do, you knew what to fool around with. So
Mm.
um, that's I would say that launched me into gaining interest on the technical side of things. Um, m- but I was also like, I didn't want like a 9 to 5 desk job, which like in
Yeah.
essence I got
Yeah.
right now, right? So
Yeah.
not 9 to 5, but I got a jet job right now. But that made it interesting to join the police. But of course, at law enforcement, um, the same thing like level to the surface, where it was like, oh, but you're interested in the technical side of things. Let's do this, let's do that. So it never really got gotten out of my system.
Mhm.
Together with the fact that I just like love connecting with people. That's just a thing for me that I like to do. At 16, I was like semi-professional into like the magician side of things, like doing like table
Oh
magic
wow.
and stuff. Was really fun. I don't think a
Oh
lot of people
wow.
know that, but a lot of people know it right now. Then so they
Fun
um
fact. Wow, there you go, guys. Yeah.
so there you go with the side of things that I like. I don't know. It's funny, right? It's fun having these chats like we're doing right now. It's fun to teach a group on crypto, whether you're like doing the basic side of things or whether you're like really experienced and want to gain some knowledge on protocols, for example. Um, it's fun to sit together and being able to go through cases to see
Mhm.
people evolve from zero to, I don't know, really good like investigators on Bitcoin, or people who've
Yeah.
been like really into it trying to grasp certain kind of protocols, and then just like seeing them nail it, just seeing them trace through all those kind of different heuristics. um it's something that's a passion of mine, and
Mm.
and I think that's important also if you are like trying to learn and trying to spread knowledge, and I'm learning myself every day, new
Yeah.
Yeah.
protocols, new different kind of options, and there's nothing better than diving into that and like co-working with people, and then like being able to deliver solutions eventually, and then share that again. I think it's
Yeah.
the best thing you can do, like, especially within crypto that's, like, evolving so quickly. You gotta share the knowledge, and the more people step out there, I think that's the most important part for the blockchain and crypto sector in general. Like, otherwise, we're doomed with everything that's going.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I was just gonna say, like, I mean, one of the big reasons I think I'm passionate about this space too is just being intellectually curious. If for someone who's intellectually curious, there's never a dull moment. There's always something new to learn. It's constantly evolving, and a surprising story out of the blue. Almost every week it seems. So, yeah, and to stay on top of it, you have to collaborate and communicate. So,
Yeah.
no, it's great stuff what you're doing, Rick. And speaking of which, we almost forgot to mention Rick's community guide. At least part one has been out. I believe you're working on a second edition, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct, Rick? Or
Yeah, we're doing the bridging
yeah,
series right now.
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
With the moving and stuff, it's doing that. So I'm like releasing every week, like not too much all at once because I knew what my limits were. So I think we'll be like ending up somewhere around like the first week of January if we do like one or two more of going through heuristics, and then we'll be starting compiling it together just like last time, and
Mm.
um and I think a lot of people were interested in the bridging side of things. We've gone through like the basic heuristics of fraud and stuff like that, and that's
Yeah.
was like the part one of one of the community guys. Well, part one, just one of the community guys, right? Um, and I think it's an interesting way of sharing knowledge and making
Yeah.
something accessible and not too technical, but just with some like hands-on experiences and some hands-on ways of tracing certain kind of heuristics. So I hope it helps, and and for some it might, for some it might not. But in the end, I hope it helps a lot of people either gaining knowledge or having something to rely on when something that you may not encounter that often just pops up, right? So
yeah.
just a way of sharing some extra stuff. Yeah,
Cool.
Definitely. Yeah, I can say from my perspective, it's helped on a number of fronts. So, yeah, really appreciate it.
love it.
Yeah.
Love to hear that. That's what I'm doing it for. So it's also rather new to me. Like the first time it took like way too long to compile it, and now I got that whole stuff set up, right? I got the whole document set up, and I know like how to compile
Yeah.
it in general. But yeah, the first I was like, oh yeah, Adobe InDesign. I was trying to to work my way around it. It's not hard, but like to make it look good,
Yeah.
it's also something that does take a little bit of work, but it's fun to do.
True. Yeah, I think it's something I also sort of like struggle with. Like you generally know the length and breadth of what you want to talk about and what you want to pass across as an information. But it's sort of like in presenting it, you're looking at what's the best way to present it.
Mm.
Like, oh, which should I use graphs? Should I use video? Should I use audio? Should I like, oh, what exactly am I going to say to kind of like pass out the complete information. Like I think sort of like I think a lot of people don't necessarily know that the effort in sort of like getting those training materials out or however I want to call it educative materials out is it is not more on what you're sharing, but the medium in which you're trying to pass it across to people. It's a lot of work, especially for the likes of us that is not our day job. It's just sort of like, you know what, we just want to pass this across and just figure out how people can make use of it. So yeah, I share that also. It's interesting.
You did a great
Cool.
job with the mentor group. Like I was really surprised in like seeing everybody present those projects that they were working on.
Yeah.
I think it was a perfect medium. I think a lot of people joined in also on the live on the
Yeah.
live event that you did back then, and I think that's so
Yeah.
interesting nowadays that you can do all these different kind of formats.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a lot of work, but it's rewarding work. It's
Yeah.
yes, we're recording on a Sunday, but it's a fun chat. So
Yeah.
um,
Yeah.
I think as long as you're having fun with it, doesn't even matter. Some things might work better than the other, but it will reach the
Yeah.
right people, even if it just reaches like 10, 20 or 50 people. You know,
Yeah.
um, if it reaches the right people, I think that's what matters in the end. Like
True.
it's still a small community, I think, in crypto in general, like people that are
Yeah, I
really
agree.
hardcore focusing on it. Um, so um, so just reaching a few people is already worth it in general, I would say.
Yeah. Cool.
Definitely. And I think, well, I was just going to add
Yeah.
too, like the power, speaking of mediums and just the power of LinkedIn, really. I think all three of us, met through LinkedIn and,
Yeah.
Ade and I like post every now and then, but Rick is definitely the pro at posting and, taking inspiration from Steven. And,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just the point of like, it's a great medium to like constantly share information and, it's really like compatible with this industry where there's something new all the time. You
Mm-hmm.
can just like open up your LinkedIn feed and, with the algorithm, if you're liking the right things and following the right people, you'll pretty much just have like a constant feed of like new information and valuable information. And yeah, I think it's really, a super powerful thing. It's funny because when you talk to people like outside of crypto compliance, LinkedIn world, they all kind of scoff at like LinkedIn and like, oh, this is so weird. And like, I do think, yeah, you go into like other industries, LinkedIn is a little bit of a weird place, but like the really niche of crypto compliance is kind of like a special LinkedIn niche. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's super powerful. It's really cool. Like, it's good that our industry does this. So yeah,
Best connections in the last. I started in June, not even that long ago.
Yeah.
yeah,
On the more knowledge sharing side of things, out in the open. Best connections I've made in the last 6 months are through there. 100%. I think people really
Mm,
underestimate it. I think for your for the future of crypto in general, in like gaining knowledge, gaining the connections, knowing where the right events are, getting updated amongst the events if you were unable to attend. Um,
mm-hmm.
I think it's the place to be. Like yeah, for the OG crazy stuff and the degens, yeah, it's X, 100%.
yeah,
100%. If you want to stay updated on wallets, on some protocols,
Yeah.
there are some guys I'm following on X who are like really diving deep into like the privacy protocols at the moment
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
and the new ones that are popping up and that's probably going to be one of the trends in 26. Like seeing a lot of focus on those,
Mm-hmm.
in my opinion at least. And we'll see if that pans out or not, but like
Mm,
for those kind of things you got to be on there. like is LinkedIn will never like be like a replacement for that. But
True.
there's also like the professional side of the crypto trading community and the compliance community, and I do think that they all gather on the like they should gather on there. Anyways, it's the place to connect on a little bit normal level, I would say, instead of
Yeah.
Mhm.
degens popping in the comments and like being all crazy.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. I
yeah,
mean, the X stuff, like, unfortunately, it's kind of, I don't know, digressed since maybe some years ago. And it is a tough place to stay on, but you have to stay on if you're in this industry. And,
yeah,
if you need to take breaks for your mental health, you know when to do it, I guess. I don't, because
you,
there
you
are
you
some
you need
like,
to have
yeah,
thick skin if you're going to stay on X. Have thick skin.
yeah, yeah. But it's a must. Yeah.
it's a must. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
a
a
must.
must.
Different platforms for different reasons. Yeah,
Yeah.
like X is
Cool.
funnier so now and then. That's for sure.
True,
I
true, true.
agree. Memes, everything in there. Yeah,
Yeah,
just pick your onions and roll with it. Cool. All right. So I think this is kind of like a very good segue to like our next sort of like topic. So this specific episode, as I mentioned initially, is just sort of like in a way looking at some of a sort of like review of what has happened, some major things that has happened within the crypto compliance space. And we'll be touching on three, and like obviously you guys are going to help me out with sharing your opinions and things that we've missed. So number one, in no order, to be honest, right? So is the Lubian arc. And I'm just going to read a little bit about what I have on my screen because I tried to so like highlight some of the major
love it.
points here. So, in December 2020, apparently, I kind of figured out that very recently that Lubian, which is like a Bitcoin mining pool, they lost more than 127,000 Bitcoin, which at that time was over 3.5 billion.
Yeah,
In today's market, that is roughly 14 billion. I'm calling the numbers, and in a way, it's not like, how did this happen?
it's
and
crazy.
yeah, and it was sort of like made public by Arkham Intelligence um, this around July, August of this year. Basically, what the vulnerability was more or less around how Lubian were generating their private keys. They were using um, a sort of like a technology that's as in that's really they should have updated from. So basically, it was something that someone could brute force the private key itself, and they lost those funds. It wasn't like I mentioned, it wasn't publicly known until July, August of this year when Arkham Intelligence published it. And because they identified some abnormal transfers in 2020. And since then, since that July, August, there has been so many I'll say allegations in a way, or at the same time, maybe there are reports of there is like a US nexus to it. It was not necessarily like a, it was a hack, but at the same time, could it have been a theft? Could it have been a seizure? There are so many words around it at this point, and but right now the funds are in there. Yeah, I think one thing I also forgot to mention is like in a way it's also linked to the OPIC butchering you won Cambodian case. So, uh, what exactly do you guys think about this 13 billion, 14 billion as at today's prices? I don't think there is any traditional finance system or business that would have a loss of even 3.5 billion as at the time of loss and will still be, I don't know, maybe it will go unnoticed, but yeah, but I'm lost right now. I'll start with Rick. What is your take on this Lubianak?
I think it's first of all it's a tremendous amount, right?
Yeah.
Um, and like if you ask me, the fact that it's gone on, I don't even know if you would say unnoticed,
Mm,
but like that it hasn't been out reported in the open, right? Like unnoticed might be a big word.
mm,
I think that just shows that there's just shady stuff going on. Like
yeah.
it can't be every sane person, no matter from what country you are, from what organization you are, or in whatever sense you would like to view this, would keep this on the down low. You would like want to have it out there to at least enforce some kind of action, right? And the
Mm.
fact that it's taken such a long time, and that right now you got um like these different articles and reports and opinions coming out of like who's behind it. Is it a
Yeah.
hack? Has it been a theft? Is it a hack? And then later on it's confiscated or whatsoever, looking at indictments and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's just shady. That's it. And then it all ties to different or to that but what's it called again? Um
Yuan.
I can't remember this. Yeah, you want the guy. I can't remember the guy's name again.
Jiang Shi or something, right? It's the
Yes.
I don't know
Yes.
if I pronounce it correctly, but um and then like seeing that that's like tied to groups again, right? And the way all these different kind of levels step in, it's shady, it's strange. But does it
Mm.
surprise us anyone? I think not. Like you just seeing how it got into the open, and then everybody pays attention to it, and it's like it's
Yeah.
human behavior, right? Oh, so bad it happened, and then like 2 months later, nobody cares about it anymore. Everybody is
Mm.
like, oh, let's see what the next hack is, because
Yeah.
it's not that unnatural for stuff like this to happen in crypto. It makes the
True.
sector fun, but it also makes you think like it's a lot of Bitcoin. It's not really that good for the industry in general.
True. Nice.
When
Like,
you when you say
what?
shady,
Yeah.
or go ahead, or
No, I was going
when you
to
say
ask you, like, what do you think?
when you say shady, Rick, you also does that include like the way in which the government got it, like and like
I think
because
so.
it's speculated, like did they actually hack or did they seize the hacker and then they got it, or like that the way that that's not so transparent is certainly a shady aspect of it too, I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think the thing is like, if, like people know where it is and people know where it came from. Nobody's open about what happened in the midst, right? So,
Yeah.
so there's definitely something interesting going on, and I do wonder, um, the more like the story like unravels,
Mm.
if like at the end when everything is settled down and and all the formal processes are taken care of that are probably going on at the moment. I do wonder,
Mm.
like, if there's gonna be more out in the open, like clarifications of what happened or not. Because I think at this moment everybody's just guessing. Everybody's like,
Yeah.
we do know a certain set of addresses from the indictment, and that's why things came apparent of like that it was like this that was like seized, right? So,
Yeah.
so certain things are apparent by documents that came out, but a lot of things are still like in the middle. China is accusing, right? Like it's state actors and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But they, if everybody can say something without really definitive proof. Um, who knows?
Yeah, and
But
and
in my opinion, it's like everybody loves to like dabble the minds like into it and like what might have happened. Um, it's not new for state actors to appear. And everybody's always focused on the bigger groups that we already know.
Yeah.
And like, oh, look what they did again, and being so focused on those entities, that we maybe sometimes do forget that like
Mm.
a Europe or America is probably doing the exact same thing. It's just being less out there, or we don't see
Yeah.
the articles about it, right? Because
True.
it's probably like being spread more in the countries itself than internally within Europe or within the US, saying like, "Oh, we did this. Look at what we did." It's not gonna happen, but it is happening. Everybody knows that.
True.
At
Nice.
least
Yeah.
everybody in the same mind would do the same if you're getting attacked by yourself, right? So
yeah.
I agree. I agree. Yeah. Do you have you want to share something on this, Joe?
No, I know we're a little pressed for time, but I guess the one other point would be like what's going to happen next, especially if the U.S. administration wants to have like a crypto reserve, and like what's going to be, how are these funds going to be used, and So that's, and then you have the, Rick already kind of hinted towards it, like the geopolitical contention between like China and the US and all that. So, yeah, the story isn't over, that's for sure. And it'll be interesting to see if we like learn technically what happened and how they got the assets. And so, yeah, fascinating story.
Oh.
Yeah, I do want to so like bring up one other point, right? And I think this one touches on the intelligent side of crypto as we know it. Um, Now, at least from the Arkham article, it was obvious that some of this discovery was made through the up return of the Bitcoin transactions, where the Lubian team itself like wrote out to the supposed Dakar, like, and then asked for returns and all of those stuff. But like that was 2020 transactions. Like, I think now we are getting to know about it in 2025. What does that say about analytics solutions and sort of like, I know there are so many information out there they can gain insights from, but like, if it took this long and it wasn't something that happened yesterday. Obviously, a DPRK would happen, most people would talk about it, and then it gets attributed. But what does this say generally about like our analytics solution that we use in this space in terms of like how they try to stay on top of things, if ever they can even do that? What's your take on that?
Like if I can elaborate on that, I think that a lot of people view analytic solutions as like the know-it-all.
Mm,
But there are like companies trying to do like their absolute best in focusing on certain kind of key elements in the space, on
mm,
protocols, of course also on OP returns and OSINT and like a lot, right? And it's a lot of data. And
yeah.
everybody is focusing on a subset and everybody is stronger on one front than on the other, which makes it so that most people would need like multiple solutions to be
Mm,
able to trace effectively or gain information within the space. Um, and I'm not even talking just about the tracing side of things. We got like the tracing tooling, right? We got the ones like doing some live identification,
mm,
and we got different kind of options in like connecting law enforcement worldwide together. And there's so many solutions with so many core focuses upon it. Um, but think that we or that like that they can like unravel everything and that they will be
mm,
able to notify everything. In the end, it's also like the people behind it using it.
yeah.
Now, how effective are they using it? For what are they using it? Um, and I think that's why things like this, like in the OP returns, for example, like what are you gonna do? Like read every OP return? Like that? Yeah, that's gonna be a pain, right? And you could focus upon maybe text, like if the word hex or hack comes into it, or like
Mm,
retrieve, or different kind of phrases that are probably used. Um, the question is, how much data would that deliver eventually? Is that maybe even too much to go through? Would it then still go unnoticed, for example?
yeah.
I don't know. Um, in the end, it's just a lot of Bitcoin, and the OP returns in the end would never have prevented it anyways.
Yeah.
We will have just known it maybe a little bit
Yeah.
earlier if there was a focus upon it, and if someone was lucky to unravel it. Um, but I do think like that's important to always realize. It's those toolings and so on are as good as like the users using it and what they are
Yeah.
focusing upon, together of course like with what they are focusing on themselves.
Nice. Cool. Yeah, because I was in a way, I think this sort of like, just to wrap this up, right? This sort of like ties back to certain conversations we've had in the past, myself and Joe, regarding what the ecosystem attributes as percentage of illicit um crypto in the space versus like it is definitely clear nobody knows the amount of illicit transactions out there, right? So so in a way, maybe it's kind of like an agenda that I'm passing of like rather than calling this is percentage of the blockchain that is illicit, we might as well just stick to this is percentage of what we know that is illicit. But yeah, I think, like you said, it's definitely going to be like a continuous conversation around this specific topic of Lubian arc. Yeah, I don't see it ending in 2 3 years from now. It's going to go a long way. But I think in a way also it sort of like ties to the second topic, Bybit hack. I was going to say is the elephant in the room, but it is no more the elephant in the room anymore. um, so this incident happened on the 21st of February 2025. I know exactly where I was on this day. It was on a Friday evening. I was closing up for work, and then I saw like the one of those endless Telegram groups, and then I just saw the kind of like a news or like an alert, and like, oh crap, my weekend is gone because it was just obvious that like this was going to take a long time, and it's still ongoing. But for our listeners who actually don't know more about what I'm referring to, so Bybit, which is an exchange, was hacked on the 21st of February, and the attacker transferred more than 400,000 Ethereum, which was around 1.4 billion at that time. And it was done by exploiting sort of like a supply chain exploit where a third party solution they were using was exploited. And in that way, they signed the wrong transaction, even though it's presented as the right transaction to them. This has been attributed to the North Korean group, Lazarus Group. Um, Highly documented. Almost everybody talks about it. I'm very sure to some extent that even some businesses used it as a marketing gig to get other businesses. But yeah, right now, some of those assets has been recovered. Some has been seized on certain services, exchanges, stablecoin solutions, and the likes. And I think there's still like a larger play around what is going to happen at the end of the day, depending on who is seizing. But a bunch of the asset itself has been lost in a way based on how it was laundered, where it ended up at, as it changed ownership, things of that nature. And but generally, with regards to this incident, starting with Joe, when you first heard of it, what came to your mind? Because at this point, I think we've never heard of Lubian, so we saw this as like the largest incidents in crypto at that time. So it is big, no doubt. So, what was your first impression of this, and what's your take generally so far? And then we can go over to Rick.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned like where you were when that happened and stuff. I can remember now too, actually. And I was still, I'm newish to the industry. And I was very much just getting started in my education kind of during that time. And another mentor of mine, Paul Marinan,
Yeah.
who XTRM, he was on my CRC course. Anyways, nice guy. He's giving me a lot of tips, but he's like, I think it was the Zach XBT Telegram group, and I think he
Mm.
initially sent like one of the first transaction hashes, and then yeah, Paul was kind of like quizzing me. He's like, what should I do? And this sort of thing. He's like, go ahead and, star those wallets and this sort of thing. So, I was one of the kind of like early times I ever really went through that sort of like initial, I don't know, kind of like instant response moment and like starring
Mm.
the addresses and on Etherscan and observing it. And, one of the first times I ever really went through this process was with this huge famous hack, so that was kind of wild. And yeah, so it was kind of funny too because I remember because I was more about the process, like focusing on that and like starring and doing, and then like it took like the dust all kind of settled, and then I like looked at the amounts. I was like, oh crap, like, oh, this is crazy, this is really monumental. And that was like the third thing that I kind of like noticed. So that was kind of wild, and a really one of the a good opener into the crypto investigation industry for me, I suppose. And yeah, it's been a hot topic. It's been on a lot of other podcasts, people talking about it, seeing the development of how it was investigated, and of course, it being associated with Lazarus Group in North Korea. And yeah, I mean, I think broke their record for the most amount of money stolen this year, in large part, obviously, to the Bybit hack. But it's been interesting to see the response. And, you know, I do think I'm fairly confident that that would be highly unlikely to happen again. I think most places have reformed their security processes, and even like Safe and Multisig have reformed a lot of their processes. I was at a conference here in Berlin over the summer it was like a Safe Gnosis sponsored event, and obviously this was a big topic of the discussions and the panels. And yeah, large, you know, in summary, I liked what I heard. They're obviously using different techniques to make sure that never would happen again. And I do think the industry has learned a lot from it. Regards from a prevention standpoint. I don't know from investigation standpoint. It seems the Lazarus Group has, you know, utilized laundering techniques fairly well, but yeah. So I guess my big point would be like it's cool to see firsthand like what's safe, and even Bybit and the industry has responded as far as prevention steps. So I think that's cool. I guess. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, you know, it sure was a big event. I think nobody will doubt that. I remember it because like of the amount of messages I got like
Yeah.
during that time about things that were happening and going on. And um I think the response side is interesting. Like it was one of the bigger responses we've ever seen within crypto, like how people were diving in. Also because
Mm,
probably like how open like the whole situation was vended basically amongst what was
mm,
happening. And follow-ups on that. I think that's why a lot of people were like, oh, let's dive into it. Let's see if we can help out, right? Let's see if we can freeze funds, if we can help in retrieving those funds. You saw a lot of people like, and a lot of exchanges also immediately like acting upon it. I don't think that was rather new. Like most of the times exchanges do like immediately respond to these kind of situations when things are stolen, and make some preventive measures. But the community in general was interesting to see. Um, in the end, you know, it was of course like a smart way of being able to sign or get those messages signed,
mm,
um, which is even more interesting, I think, because it shows also like it doesn't matter how good blockchain is in general, and how effective it can be to do your transactions through the blockchain, um, or whatever it is. Right? I'm not even talking about crypto anymore. It's just like blockchain
mm.
in general for like storing and sending values, and whatever you want to do with it. But um, that most of the times it's a human error, it's a tech error that can be exploited, or like in this case basically both, right? Because you're
Yeah,
still clicking on sign, like no matter what the technical issue is,
yeah.
it's also a decision of using a certain kind of element which
Mhm,
could have been um, set as a different standard than what have been used back then. So and I think everybody learns from it. I don't think it's really that much of a mistake, if you can call it like that, because things are new in the space. There are solutions, and people are adopting the solutions, and everybody's
yeah.
getting praised for a solution. And the moment that something goes wrong, like you're there and trying to explain like what happened, right? And um, but I do think that that's the biggest hurdle for blockchain and crypto in general. Um, there will be more of these hacks or exploits. Um, there, there will be problems along the way. If you just look at how long how long blockchain has been here, and the developments that have happened, and how community has grown, and how solutions adapted upon it, um, it's like a tremendous growth. I think that a lot of people never expected to be where we are at sort of 25 right now. Um, so I think this really showed how the community has grown, and how much can be done. And yeah, you know, privacy protocols, they're a pain for tracing. Um, I would be one to say that this is where exchanges and like the cash out points basically
Mm,
are really important, because like cashing out from those different kind of protocols that are used, no matter which one it is. Um, Also, that can be recognized.
Yeah.
I think we're just being too easy on that front at the moment. That's why a lot of money that's stolen or that has been laundered already, still can pass through those entities.
Yeah. I think one thing you just said right now, quickly before we go on break, I wanted to touch on is it's so I did deep tracing quite a lot. And I think one thing I also identified, just kind of like on your last point, is the fact that funds that were stolen from Bybit were still under through Bybit. So it's sort of like what you're referring to again, like the cash out points and services sort of like doing better jobs in ensuring that their systems are not used for as a pass through of something, or it's kind of like just presenting itself as like a kind of like a private place you can't trace one of those stuff, right? So, but I still would love to kind of like give a little bit of props to Bybit in the way they handle the case. I think it showed a bit of maturity when it comes to just coming out right out seat, and then their CEO, I believe, and then making that announcement, and then sort of like telling people within the space that like, funds are still safe, client funds are still safe, this is what was lost, and calling on the ecosystem to sort of like help in that situation. I think it shows a bit of maturity, which is sort of like something that obviously be brought in from like a Web2 infrastructure where you have to come out of it, explain, tell people that you've been exploited and things of that nature, and these are the things you've done. So I think I'll give them props on that. So, but yeah, just I think at this point we can just sort of like take a break and go on a little break and then come back for the ending sections of this episode. All right, welcome back to this interesting episode. I'm sure you've been enjoying it so far. I have been. We've discussed so many things, and this has been like an interesting way to kind of like cap up the year. So, just to kind of touch on the last thing for this episode, and that is in a way sort of like what is we are currently seeing in 2025, and in a way what potentially would happen in 2026. So recently Anthropic, which is like an AI, I call them an AI company, maybe they're not calling themselves that, they kind of like did a research on smart contracts using AI and asked that specific AI to sort of like exploit about 400 smart contracts that were exploited, and then they actually still found some new bugs, I believe, from that set of codes. So it's interesting that right now people are sort of like leveraging on AI, one, to do a lot of things within this space, and not just only smart contracts. I think Rick also mentioned something about, well, maybe not Rick, I think it was Joe. Yeah, I think it was Joe that mentioned it about one of Rick's presentation he attended, where he showed how AI was used to I think for scams or something of that nature. So this sort of like leads me into, we're seeing that fairly new in a way right now, but I think potentially in 2026 we will see more of it. So I'm going to get starting with Rick and then Joe. I'm going to I want to get your opinions or predictions, if I may call it that, what you think 2026 um has for this ecosystem from all angles. Yeah, Rick.
From all angles. Okay. From all angles. Okay. Um, First of all, like AI is tremendously interesting, right?
Yeah.
Not because of like the AI hype or whatsoever, but like especially because of like the things that you just highlighted. Um, yeah, I've done present. That's where like this is the first time where Joe and I met up live at the Data Expert event that we do twice a year, and um and I was like within my job, I'm focusing upon scams, illicit
Mm,
actors, like the way they're moving funds, and especially within those kind of environments, more and more about like how you need to adapt to it to be able to trace through it.
mm,
I think and I don't know if you're going to link the article within the
yeah.
episode to know. Yeah, so like I would advise everybody to read through it because you shared it with me
Yeah.
Like in regards to like, oh, you gotta take a look at this one, and I loved it, and not because it shows you how exploits can be leveraged within AI, or with AI, but mostly like the way AI reasons, thinks, tries things out, common fault bits that even AI gets into. Like the first
Mm,
like the first bit of like trying to find exploits is really focused upon one single core thingy, and then they expand their knowledge in regards to
yeah.
like, oh, let's try a little workaround and so on. And I think it's really interesting for people to see that um, that AI has this or these opportunities to do that quick thinking and to see how that quick thinking actually works, and
Mm,
why it's that strong and why you shouldn't underestimate it, because most people use ChatGPT and that was fun and all. Yeah, it works, but there are so many different kind of ways and different kind of strengths from different kind of certain AIs, and especially within exploits, or using it to generate like thousands of addresses and then launder
mm,
funds between it automatically, right? Um, and combining those together, like
mm,
it shows you how bad it could get for this space, and how much you need to know what those kind of heuristics are to identify when these kind of things are being used. Um, because as one of the As one of the predictions that I would say, if we just tie those things together, is
yeah.
like that our job is gonna be harder in 26 going into
Mm,
27. I wouldn't say like immediately in 26, right? That's too easy to say. But um like throughout the year, I think more and more people will realize, and like tracers, but also the illicit actors, that that AI is there to use also within tracing, but also within finding exploits and then like being able to launder them and combine that with privacy protocols that are
yeah.
100% are going to get more attention. Like you see
Mm,
it all throughout the space at the moment. Um, I think that's going to be harder, not impossible. Like people are always like, oh yeah, but once it goes through a privacy protocol, it's impossible. No, it's really hard at the moment because a lot of centralized entities and so on are just letting those funds passing through, even
yeah.
though it has exposure, right, to privacy protocols and so on. That there can be better compliance measures taken at the moment, um, and we see it all the time within our investigations. Just funds that are obvious coming from scams, just going through the centralized entities and being cashed out. So,
Yeah.
Mhm.
so that's an issue that's only going to get bigger. So what I hope then in 26 is seeing that those kind of measures um, are I wouldn't say tightened. That might be like the wrong word for it,
Mm,
but like adapting more to the current
mm,
situations. And it's gonna be one of those harsh statements, maybe, but like caring more about victims instead
yeah.
of just being scared that
Profits.
some users might run off your platform because you maybe sharpened it a little bit too much for a moment.
Mm,
You should care more about the victims in general, because like it's really hard for them. So now and then at the moment.
mm. Nice. Interesting. Good. Yeah. What do you think, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, all angles here. I don't know. There are a bunch of different ideas coming to my head right now. I mean, just to stay on the topic of like AI agents, of course, you can't um, talk about 2025 and going into 2026 without the word AI and AI agents specifically. And yeah, as Rick mentioned, we first met at the Data Expert conference back in September, or maybe it was early October, and yeah, great presentation there on specifically how like AI agents are helping scammers and attackers with laundering. Yeah, there's really some pretty I don't know, what's the word? I guess daunting outlook for investigators if that's really going to be the norm from scammers. So I would agree with Rick's point that 2026 and the future will things will get probably harder before easier for investigators. And yeah, I mean, just to make a comment on the paper, the Anthropic paper that we'll link to. Yeah, I mean, AI agents are certainly helping not only scammers, but also defenders and security researchers. I think that was a point of the article. Like, it's a technology, it can be used for good, it can be used for bad. And yeah, AI agents will help attackers exploit protocols and smart contracts, but it should also help people defend them at the same time. So, yeah, I guess the summary there is it's probably just going to be like the bottleneck and the focus point of like both sides of that ledger of like who's using the AI better.
Yes.
I don't know, like that. Literally, that's probably like what it's going to come down to. It seems, since yeah, you need to think fast on that stuff. But yeah, there was some other things that came to my mind regarding just like the year in wrap and going forward. Yeah, the compliance standpoint is, like Rick mentioned, where the cash out points are could be the bigger focus as we see privacy protocols ramp up. That's definitely going to be a theme for 2026. It's a huge part of the Ethereum roadmap. All the like thought leaders like Vitalik have spoken about it in length. It's not, I mean, he's also mentioned in some points, Vitalik, like how to also implement some sort of compliance with the privacy. And there's some interesting possibilities, I think, with like ZK proofs and somehow, showing that funds aren't stolen and they are from a compliant user without giving away, all the information of that user. So that'll be fascinating. I'll be interested in see how that develops in 2026. I think it'll be an important job of like compliance focused people to like make that an initiative, because I do think maybe the Biddle community who just want to like make cool technology and they don't really think of compliance that much might not make that like the focus point at first.
Mm.
So I think compliance folks have a duty to maybe be a bit loud about that. But yeah, that's one thing. I mean, yeah, like cash out places, like Coinbase getting that huge hit in Ireland for not being
Yeah.
compliant on so many levels. Like, I don't know if that wakes up these cash out exchanges, but maybe more of that will wake them up. Hopefully they do wake up. And of course, regarding AI, you have like the whole people can just create a passport and a photo and do a KYC with AI now. So that's a whole thing too. So, yeah, there's a lot going on. I think in summary, 2025 was a fascinating year for this industry, especially with like the US administration and things ramping up there. It seems that, all guardrails are off to some degree. I mean, maybe that's not the right way of saying it, but everyone's real bullish. They're building stuff and making
Mm.
things happen. And yeah, the compliance investigation side's matured, especially with the lesson we just talked about with Bybit. And yeah, I think 2026 is just going to continue the story. And regarding privacy, AI agents, that's all going to be interesting. One thing there's another topic I would be interested in hearing your guys' thoughts is
Mhm.
just like, where do we as investigators go with things? I know it's a bit of a paradox of like, you don't want you want people to be safe and you don't want crimes to happen and this sort of stuff, but like, it's our job to investigate these cases too. Like, do you just see cases continuing in 2026? Do you see them like staying the same, ramping up, ramping down? I think for the most part, from my point of view, is I'm a little worried of like how burned retail has gotten. You see it in the data, like retail is at an all-time low of interest in crypto. I think it's affecting the market, like especially with like smaller projects, altcoins and things like that.
Mm.
It's definitely gone like 2026. I mean, it happened in 2025, but continues in 2026 to be more like TradeFi focused. And, I think was it JP Morgan that just released something on chain or a
Yeah.
solution of, yeah. And so like you have this on one hand, but on the other hand, I think retail's getting burned. So I don't know where the space goes regarding like investigations and cases, but yeah, I know that was a lot there, but be interested in hearing your guys. Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, if I can quickly, so I think there's still going to be threat actors, and with new technology, just sort of like tying into what you guys have said, with new technology, as much as people can use it in a compliance way, a lot of people would also still use it for wrongdoings whatsoever, right? So I think there's going to be, for every new technology that comes in, there's going to be a new industry of crimes that comes in along with it, and then which means a new industry of how to solve those crimes preventively or reactively. However, it's going to be that is going to continue. Um, I Pig butchering and the lies. Yeah, there are a lot of news around it. I think it's still going to be a big thing. Uh, there might be a close down in Cambodia, but that's just one group as far as I'm concerned. Like there are still so many smaller groups that probably are even doing way better. Like as you guys have mentioned, scam, um, enabled scenarios with AI, like those ones. Like so, at the end of the day, you might not be able to even tie it to one person or just this individual or this group, but there's just one AI being run through proxy IPs and different command and controls infrastructure, and they're like, okay, funds are getting lost, but you can't find an individual behind it. I think those things will still continue. I think generally, as you guys have said, how exactly does those cash out points, the services, how do they actually tighten their compliance systems to ensure that funds just don't get passed through them just for the sake of we want to make profits. So I think those things will definitely still continue. But yeah, I don't know what you think, Rick.
Yeah, I think I think that so looking at what Joe said and what you said, it's also an interesting topic in like how that's going to evolve. Um, I do think we're in a different stage than what we've normally have seen within bulls and bears.
Mm,
Um, the history shows like cases rising up, cases rising down, right? So um, we saw the same trend, but now I think a lot of people might have like the opinion in regards to, oh, it's not going to happen to us again, right? So this time when things are dropping, we are going to invest, and then there will still be scammers like lurking around, threat actors will always be there, and they will adapt to how like society adapts to it. Um, Normally, what I would expect right now is that cases would already, or like investigations, that companies like us are doing, for example, would be like declining a little bit, but it's like rising at the moment. It's just
mm,
getting more and more. Something that I did not foresee, but I think it has. One of the reasons probably is due to like the way of how the mindset of people is shifting nowadays. Also because it's way more in the news, right? So
yeah,
normally when Bitcoin dropped, like it would go out of the news until it like goes up again and so on. And like it's still like the common denominator for like driving attention. Um, but nowadays it's just everywhere. Also, of course, because of the administration, like promoting it like heavily and like if there's just too much going on, I think, in crypto at the
mm,
moment, and companies trying to adapt blockchain in general way more, which a lot of people are like, blockchain is crypto and crypto is blockchain, right? There's no distinction between the two for a lot of them, no matter like how it is used. So um, I think that's gonna be really like I wouldn't say I'm looking forward to see how it pans out because it's a weird like I would rather see zero cases like popping
Yeah,
in.
mm,
yeah, exactly.
Um,
Yeah.
but it's gonna be really interesting because no matter what, there will always be crime. Um,
yeah,
and we are right now in a space where things are evolving so drastically, and there's so many political influence and you know there's I wouldn't say there's no like single entity anymore who has influence. It's like all around at the moment. Companies
yeah,
decide, financial institutions decide. No matter what it is, everybody has a say in it right now.
yeah.
Um, yeah, just tremendously interested in how that is going to work out, and also how that drives adoption in general, and how developers are going to act upon that with like new kind of solutions. We haven't seen it all. Everybody's
Yeah.
focusing, of course we got AI, but like Joe mentioned it for a moment, like zero knowledge proofs. Um, you see it popping up on the timelines a little bit more nowadays.
Mhm.
Um, like how interesting is that going to be? If we are going to use that just way more, and people are going to adapt to that instead of like the most shitty ways of verification that we have at the moment, right? It's
Yeah.
at the moment it's terrible, and it could be really good. So I'm as I'm just hyped for those stuffs. Like, we got new stuff to dive into and to read about, and probably seeing new exploits, but we need that to grow, right? So
Yeah.
so let's see where it turns into.
Yeah, I think that's a very good way to sort of like put it all together for this episode. And for the year, uh the space will continue to evolve. Things will happen, good things, bad things. We just hope that there are more people on the good side that are doing good things rather than for profits, but for the good of the ecosystem in all. And for guys out there learning or trying to learn more about this space, the easiest way is actually to be in it, and not just reading articles and the likes, just be in it. And so, but yeah, I'd like to thank Rick for coming on. You've been you've been great. I'm as I'm so like as we're talking, I'm just thinking, wow, this is like a very interesting episode. Like it's so like there are so many punchlines and so many subsections that could make an episode on its own. So thank you so much for spending time with us. And definitely, definitely, we'll call you back next year. So sometime next year, we'll definitely call you back if you honor us. So, and also to Joe, my co-host, thank you. We started this off like earlier, roughly June or thereabout this year, and it was like, oh, you know what? Let's see how it goes. And you were still saying how it's going, and like if for the sort of reviews I've gotten and the ones that you shared with me also, I think we are doing something great here. So thank you also, Joe. And to our listeners out there, we appreciate you guys for listening to us yapping about different stuffs and even stuff that doesn't concern you. So, but yeah, thank you. I'm going to steal Rick's line to end this episode and end out this year. So, stay sharp. Did I get it right? Yeah, stay sharp, legends. So, peace,
Love it.
guys.
That's it.